Okay, so we have two stories that kind of correlate with each other, but I'm going to start off with this one first because it's so crazy. They did this like little piece on MSN. I don't know if it's a made up thing or what the hell, but they were talking about some 16-year-old son was kicked out of his home when he was younger. And then 4 days, they found him and they brought him back. And then they're talking about how he has problems from it and everything. But literally, no one in these stories, when they're going through it, are saying it's a crime. It is definitely a child crime. So regardless of what's wrong with the kid, you can't just dump your kid off at a school at a bus. It was like a bus station, something weird. A bus station, and the dad gave him $20 and said hit the road. Okay, we got child endangerment, child neglect, and you don't get the backstory. Like what he was saying, he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like most of the time, it was them like yelling at me for not cleaning my room, like really petty things. But we are only getting one side of the story. But generally, we've seen this growing up. So, yeah, and then they make him feel bad and everything, and then treat the kid as a monster, and it's all on them. Then there was this comment to the right, which I can't even respond to it. You guys see it? Like, it won't let me post it. It says, do you see my comment? I'm going to read you theirs, but then I go submit, and then it goes, this comment doesn't meet community guidelines. Please try another. What am I saying? So you basically became your bad parents, child neglect, and endangerment. Do you guys see anything wrong with my comments? You're going to see something wrong with her comments. Or it's just, so you could promote child abuse, but you can't say that. Like, it's not even, it's like responding to something horrible. Now watch, this is what she says. Parents of that generation did not put up with disrespectful children. It's evil grandma. I already see it. Do you guys hear it? And then it goes into gangbanger territory. Y'all disrespect me? Y'all disrespect. You see it? Okay. They were also raised in a different way. An abusive way, yeah. I struggled being in my early 60s with a 16-year-old. Okay, so this is a really old person, okay? Older than me, older, okay? And they had a 16-year-old, different generation, where they're supposed to be much more healthy. I'm like, they're supposed to be much more healthy. I'd say in one aspect, kids are more healthy, but then in another aspect, they still have these terrible humans as parents. And so at least the positive in today is at least kids are starting to know it's abuse and they'll call on their parents. We didn't have that because nobody in the story is even talking about that. Okay, so mostly. So they go, he's a great kid, gets good grades. But I don't know what the grade thing has to do with anything because you could be a good kid and have bad grades and it could be for different reasons. But anyway, they're looking at the kids for being perfect. They need to be these perfect. You could tell there's like this rigid home life from these sentences, okay? So imagine, it's like you have to have A plus plus kid, okay? There's going to be rigid home life. Okay. And then they go, but he also thinks he could do as he pleases and speak disrespectfully to me and his dad, and we are divorced. Okay, so I don't know why. I mean, I can kind of figure why he is with her because she's over strict, like that militant parent. But there could be other issues in the story. Like, I don't know if he's going through something. Maybe he's going through something at school and they're being too rigid and he's stressed out. He could be on the autistic scale. There's a number of things right here. We do not know. It's her side of the story. Like, I could already tell there's something wrong with her. Then she goes, one day after returning from his dad's, where I learned he was very disrespectful. Well, we don't know what his dad did. What if his dad's molesting him, right? We don't know, right? I'm just saying, you don't know the actual story. Maybe dad was talking down to him like he's an idiot, and we just do not know. So somehow he tells her, complains, and she decides she's going to act like this. This is like the worst thing to do, but she thinks she's totally right. So she goes, And it'll tell you more about their abuse. They are the abusers, but she goes, so he started being the same with me. Yeah, let's see. How did you confront him? Can you guys imagine this? So, just from what she told you from the very beginning of the story, she confronts him, but she doesn't tell you how she's talking to him. She could go, "Hey, jerk." She could just this demeanor. You just do not know. And then you're going to be, you don't know what happened at the house. You don't know anything. She's butting in on that instead of like, I think the right action here is like, what happened over there? Like just getting the story, like getting him to express his feelings of like, why is he acting that way or what happened? Because maybe she could find out something deep and dark in this story, right? Oh no, she's gonna go up to him and go, disrespect. The respect. You put respect to my name. This bullshit, right? This gangbanger bullshit. It is gangbang. That's how they came out, actually, by the way. I was like a lot of those things. But so this is a woman doing it. Okay, so So he started being the same with me. Yeah, probably because you caused that. Okay, so I told him to walk out the door. So now she's going to kick him out of the house. So do you think that this mom is abusive or not? No, she is. I mean, most definitely. You don't tell a kid to get the hell out of the house. So then it becomes like, it could become child neglect, endangerment, whatever, kicking their minor out of the house. But then she talks about it like it's a good thing. After an hour, I was concerned. Oh, really? You didn't care about him before to tell your kid he should have kept walking and went to the police station. And wondered where he went. Thankfully. Oh, okay. What if he got kidnapped by a serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody like that because she sent her kid off into the wild? And then what happens? They're going to make up a story. They're going to say, my son ran away and he must have went into this house. So we never got the full stories on a lot of those parents in the past because they chronically lied. But so she goes, thankfully, he just grabbed the fishing pole and went fishing. Now you're just an abusive parent. I would never respect you. You're like an old evil crab and you will abandon me in no time flat because you don't like the way someone's speaking to you, but you're ignoring how you're speaking to them. Okay, so sometimes, then they said this, and it's like, whoa. Sometimes kids do need to be shocked. And I'm like, are you like literally shocking your kid with like a cattle prod? Like some of these parents, I was making kind of a thing about it because I was like, some of these parents do that kind of stuff. But it's almost the same thing, even if you're just doing it, like throwing them out of the house. Like, so she's saying this. Sometimes they need to be shot. Militant parent. It's very, mentally effed up. And a dictatorship, right? It's too dictatorship. So they go, I would never drop my son or daughter off at a bus station. Like, that's like too extreme for her. It's not. And then she said, but one experience as this adult shared, it seems, did not teach him the lesson. So hopefully he's seeing a therapist. Like, it's not her, right? He's going to have to see a therapist because of her. You know what I mean? Like, she has no mirror. So all I was just trying to say is, oh, you became like your parents and that, but they're not letting me say it. So when the public comes here for these conversations, it's very one-sided. Like, we're supposed to promote child abuse, and 23 people thumbed her up, and I'm thumbing it down. Nobody should have thumbed that up. That is full-blown child abuse, and she could get arrested for that kind of shit. And you don't know what else she did. She's not going to tell you. You think some abusive crab is going to go on a public forum and tell you, well, I beat the shit out of him, many times. And then we try to do all these things. But all we care about is that he got straight A's. We beat the A's out of him. You know what I mean? It's just like, you don't get that full scope of what's going on here. But you could already tell just from her demeanor, what she's saying, she is an abusive woman. So you're going to have a kid that is not going to act well to somebody like this. And she's from a generation where it was very normal to beat the shit out of your kids. So the fact that so many people done this up is just like, oh my God, no. And that's why we got all these rapists. We got all these other people, because by the time they, they're out in the wild, they have a really bad opinion of our gender. I mean, if this was your mother, but in addition, his dad, we don't know much about the dad, because all it says is he disrespected the dad. The dad could be very disconnected, promotes violence, could also beat him, can do these things. And then they come out and do that. So just reading this on the surface, it's really hard. There was another story in here where it was like, I don't know what they mean by NTA. Something to do with child abuse or something. I don't know. But anyway, I was thinking narcissist, something, but I don't know. Anyway, you don't kick your child out of the home, especially the way they did this. I'm a parent. My oldest child is 16. And when she was in junior high, this happened to one of her peers, and she was very worried because nobody could locate him for days. His dad should have been arrested. So in this case, it's his abusive father. And in our case, it's our abusive father thing is this thing. So now she's a junior in high school, and my middle daughter in junior high. And I heard a couple more stories like yours, and you were just a kid, and this makes my heart hurt for your teenage self. Like, legit, you're older than me, yet my mom aches for you. But, yeah, so they said he should have been arrested. Exactly. So it's child endangerment and child neglect, and there should be a lot more on this, but because another thing is when they did this, this is part of Christian parenting, so it was the Christian parenting throughout. Oh God, that's why all the kids were dead, at the school, and they just bury them up at the school. Okay, so they were highly abusive, and the women, were left to take care of the kids, and then the men worked and all that crap, and the women were taught. The women were abused, so the women got their asses beat and everything else. So it's like a stream of history going. So they were told to, if they spare the rod, they spoil the child. So they have this like mentality of you have to beat the saint into them. Okay, so this is where BDSM comes in, actually, but in their thing, it's non-consensual. I think it's important to talk about both those topics together because it's kind of like the tail off of this universe, and then now this is the aftermath of that universe, and where in that universe they talk about you just don't randomly do it to people. You're not supposed to. So the other people are getting busted come from this area many times because the abuse is stemmed off from this. And I want to say that and really put this out there. So people were talking about it not being sexual. Actually, that's incorrect. I was like, that's actually incorrect. It shapes their sexuality. So the abuses on some kids can turn sexual. That's just a fact. And another thing is the people doing the abusives have turned it sexual. So it's not correct to say it's not sexual. It's partly, it's like in part, it's like another connector to what's going on. I'm going to move away from this story and go to the one and show where this is actually happening. So I had just done this story, right? That's exactly the foundation to what's wrong with this story. I was like, so not just that I love Hitler, it's just ignorant, right? It's just stupid shit. Like, I'm going to go rape people, all this. If you just take it on the surface, you're like, oh, just these things. But what they're actually doing and what's wrong with them is a much deeper problem in society, and we all know it. And this isn't a free speech thing. This is actually like a mental illness verbally being said out loud, okay? So I always look for speech because I'm looking for this in particular. There's so many other mental health issues out here that I don't even know everything about them yet, and I'm still kind of going through them. But in particular, I'm looking for this stuff. This is like the serial killer zone. So, and the rapist, the domestic violence guy, the gangbanger, that person that we're looking for a very specific, thing right here. Well, in this story, as I said, it wasn't about hate particularly, because like I said, on the surface, it totally does. It looks like, oh, wow, they hate all these people. Yeah, that may be in the mix on a lot of these stories, but you have to look at it this way. You know how many people hate people? Like most of the world hates somebody, okay? That's a normal, the hate portion is like a normal emotion that humans have, and it comes and goes. That's totally normal. When it starts going into other realms of actions, then you have some other issues. Like there's other things going on. So, okay, because we could all hate these guys right now, right? Are we talking about any of this? No. And the foundation to it is a pleasurable action, which is tied to your sexuality. So if you go back to Ted Bundy, what is he doing? So he has a pleasurable action. The pleasure, it's in the pleasure zone where he's out killing women, raping them, whatever, the whole like horrific thing. And you could say, oh, hate, but technically, he's very self-centered. So he doesn't care about anybody else in the story other than his own pleasure. So it does go into his sexuality because that's how he gets his rocks off. And so what's happening here is they're expressing what turns them on. And a Ted Bundy is created in childhood, and it'll show up. We were talking about the show up zones. And so by the time these guys are in a room right here talking, they're already goners, okay? That cancer already took over. It's horrible. And so they're turned on by torture and violence, the actions of harming other people. And so when you go into the other community, the one that consensual community, everybody understands this to a level to where, like, something got sexualized, and then from a myriad of things, right? It's not just the, torture and whatever, just different things. And it's something in the environment, like you go through this thing. But one of the things that was prevalent, as I was saying, I go, oh, the childhood abuses. So there was these early things that happened to them when they were little kids. So I said there go, oh, that goes way back. You know what I mean? Like, so it is shaping their sexuality. So if you're showing a lot of violence and things like that, and in fact, you could pull Kevin Spacey's story where he's getting off on men getting blown up to pieces, and then he's doing these actions to other people. Do you think the mindset is from hate? It's not from hate. It's from being very self-centered. It's about fulfilling his own needs. And he finds pleasure in violence and doing acts of taking over people or whatever the thing is, right? He's actually a really good example because somebody outed him for that portion too. So I was like, yeah, that's connected in his actions. So it is connected to his sexuality because that's what he does, and that's how he gets his rocks off, like, forcing himself on other people and then watching violent content. So, this is a similar thing right here. So, I don't think Kevin's as bad as this right here, but, oh God. So this is basically the mind of a serial killer, and they find a lot of enjoyment in harming other people against their will. So there's that addition of the no agency, of taking control of people against their will. Like, it has to be a thing where, like the serial killer, where it's like you would probably ruin their whole scheme if you were totally down with what they were into. Like, the enjoyment is doing something where somebody's in fear and terror and enjoying other people suffering, right? So it'll come out in the form of rape, domestic violence, like what our government is doing right now, and ignoring agency of people and just kidnapping them and forcing them into like torture chambers, and then to murder. But you see, they bring up rape. Well, the sex in itself is a sexual act, right? So they have pleasure in um harming you. It's the torture harm thing and dominating. They're getting off on the high of the power and control that they have of being a terrorist, basically. And yeah, it's in that zone. That's the air conditioner thing. It scares the shit out of me. It doesn't sound like an alarm. It's like draining water or something in the wall. Scared the hell out of me. I don't know. This place is a nightmare. Okay, so what happens here? Okay, so we know that these monsters have been created throughout history. We've been saying they all want to be Ted Bundy. So this is where you're saying where they're Ted Bundy. This is the real thing of them. And it has never been in secret. It's never been private. It's not an unknown thing. We experienced it growing up as kids. At no time did we ever talk like this amongst our peers. We've said ignorantly stupid jokes, but they were not about blowing up or killing people and raping them. And me, particularly out of all my friends, was one of the big horror movie buffs. Okay, so you would almost think like that would be coming out of me too. No, we kind of just made fun of the flicks, but there was nothing where we're sitting around going, yeah, we should get some men, tie them up, and just stab them to death. You know, wouldn't that be hilarious? So like this didn't happen. So also in society, they promote male violence in the way they perceive men in movies, TV, anything. And these are the things that children pick up. And yeah, it used to be a thing where they're like, it's not a big deal. Okay, it totally is. It totally is. It is because of the environment, because children absorb the environment. If in the environment, their perception, they're watching how men are perceived, like be it TV, our government, your parents, all those things, they identify with something in that, and it just becomes a normal thing. Like, this is how it is. It'll vary from country to country, but it's relatively the same. The violent men and the women are like cloaked up, and we're telling them what to dress, how to dress. Okay, so we have the same thing in America. It isn't different. It's just done in a different way, but it's the same problem, okay? So then men think, oh yeah, we get to tell them what to do. We get to tell them what to do. There's our narcissist thing. Oh, we're the king of the universe. Okay, well, that came in there. So I just want to make it clear that in order to get to this point where we're reading right here, they already have to be a mega narcissist. So the other questions you want to do with this, besides going where it came from, that's where you want to go, is where it came from, and know what the parental thing was at home. So nobody is born this way. This is not something from birth. I know some people thought genetics and all these things, but nobody's born saying, I love Hitler. Nobody's born saying, I want to rape everybody. Nobody's born this way. The way you would get to this point is like, well, besides your parents being a bunch of narcissist abusers, neglect or promotion of this, even if you were in a school and all the peers are going on, kids know what's right and wrong most of the time, because there was many times that my other friends, like, if something was said ignorantly, somebody in the group knew it was a bad thing and you shouldn't say it, and they kind of regulate themselves in a weird way, unless everybody in the group is a piece of shit. Which can happen. But usually it's kind of like, kids kind of have this knowledge, or somebody does, whoever had a good parent, or I don't even know how they learned all that stuff, but they would, point out, it's not good to say the N word. Like, somebody said this in our group, and none of us like knew shit about nothing, because our school like didn't teach that and didn't touch that history. And the only way I got any portion of that history was from our family friends, who are kind of like a secondary family to me. And so I didn't use the word. There was another girl in our group of people who was running around going N-word, N-word, N-word. And then one day I said, I told my friend something about N-word. I go, what's that? And she's like, don't say that. Okay, so she's regulating, right? So somebody told her. I was like, I don't even know what it means because we didn't hear the word because my dad's friends with a family of color. So he did not, if he said that, oh Lord, they would have got on him. So it wasn't in our household, okay? So we're not running around going, this bullshit. So that's environment. Because the kids here, their environment is probably their parents saying it, making references to these things. And I almost am certain we've never had any anti-Semitic things said. If there was, I'm seriously ignorant to it. Like, that's the only thing I could say about it. No, nobody. I don't recall any references. If you said the Hitler thing, you might have like mocked the, like his salute. Some people probably did do that. I don't recall ever doing that. But no. So no, in our circle of people, that wasn't even there. So I was kind of looking and analyzing because he's trying to say it's totally normal for all these kids. And I was like, no, we did other stupid crap, but like some off jokes and things that would probably reference different people's cultures. Like we made fun of some culture things, the stereotypes of cultures. So that was actually seen as okay and normal back then, and it's really not. But it just wasn't done in the mentality of hate. So that's why I said they're not hitting the right thing. I know it sounds like hate on the surface, but it's not really that. It's more of a narcissist, self-centered thing where they think they're the greatest thing in the room. And then they have no connection to other human beings. And they find pleasure in doing and committing violence on other people. It's that area. So... and that's the same. Like you could go to any serial killer. Oh, the lady that I just read in her thing. She actually sounds like the mom of Israel Keys, like the family unit. So if you go through the serial killers' home life, they're very similar. There isn't much of a difference. It's just that's the problem with this stuff, because when you're looking at it, you're like, well, how do you determine where they're going to go? Because you just don't know. It's sort of, right now it seems like a crapshoot. It could change if we found some more specific information, right? But it was pretty similar. Like I think it was like the religious home, they were disconnected. So when she sent him away, the family sent that kid away. How do you know? They said he went fishing. You don't know what he did. What if he went and killed some other kid? You know what I mean? You don't know. Like, they're missing now, and nobody ever knew that your son, when you sent him out, he started serial killing. That's what happened. So then, and the whole time, when you read that early portion, the struggle, like, I don't think it would have tailed off to serial killing had he eventually got connected to his parents and he maybe got help or whatever, because when he was talking, it was sort of like, I kept trying to do this. I guess there was just no connection there, like just struggling to try to get the love and blah, blah, blah. But then something in this point, then he just starts going out doing all that crap. But the problem was already there before even that point. It's there. At a point where it's too late. Like, he has major mental health issues, regardless of what those are, but it has to do with that thing right there. And then, but so it's before that you need to tackle it. Not at this point where, oh, wow, okay, so now all these guys it's tied to their sexuality. Let's just put it this way. This conduct right here is tied to their sexuality. So that becomes a fairly permanent fixture with people, unless they go in, if there was something, I guess if it's like abuse related, they may be able to work with that, but I don't know. It's an area that it's like, it's typically a permanent fixture with you, and it's like connected like that, because the only way that they find pleasure is by hurting someone. And we see it in women, and we're seeing it right now with Ice Barbie, who has major, she's sexually deranged. So she finds pleasure in harming other people, which is a scary thing. And yes, we do see this in women, obviously, because like obviously because there's also a community, but some of the people in the community are some people were scary as hell. I will put it that way. Here's the honesty of that. Um, some people in the community were they don't turn off. Okay, so it isn't even like just entertainment, you know what I mean? Like amongst consenting people. There were people that when they fit into the lifestyle thing, because you could be lifestyle and still not, turn that on people. There were people that didn't turn it off and then they started abusing other people. So that's not consensual. So we did see that. So those are somebody that can't regulate proper. Like there is a scary level of things on some of those things. And it's just the honesty of it. Cause as we keep going back and forth on it, I was like, yeah. And then, obviously a lot of those people had some of these people had very traumatic childhoods. And then some people were really into other people abusing the crap out of them, where other people had to regulate to stop other people from doing bad things to them. Yes, because some people would think it in the reverse all the time because just stereotypes. But there was opposite things going on where other people were taking advantage of them and abusing the crap out of them because they were in this submissive role. And then other people have to stop it. It's just effed up. Like there's just things in there that is not necessarily healthy like that. And then but they were choices, so they made choices to do that. So nobody forced them into going and doing that. It's just something that they found pleasure in the abuse. So when you talk about the psychology of that, but it actually is so much related to this. It's like separated by degrees. As far as some mentalities, they're not serial killers, but at times you do get people in here that do fall on that spectrum. So it's, because it's the tail off of what's happening here. And then you go into that universe and then there's these selected people that it's like, oh my God. Yeah. So, I mean, just looking at it on a healthy level here to like, try to dissect this because it's quite a lot of information that the general public does not have. So I'm going to share it. So that's what I'm saying. It is connected to their sexuality 1000%. It's part of it. And it did derive from some type of abuse. It could have been because just like the lady that we read, her overly strict, like weird thing. But we need more information about it because it is basically fundamentally about the pleasure of torturing other people. And they can't, and it's so gross that all these men get in a circle together and just have this circle jerk about it. Trump did it too with that whole thing talking about sexually harming, his bullshit with women, but he's having this sexual conversation with other men. And nobody thinks anything's weird about it. I don't know. I've never had these conversations with my friends like that. It just disgusts me. I don't know. There's sort of some lines here to some off-kilter things that mostly men do. And then, so what happens is Gavin like goes after it too now. I don't think he said anything controversial. The problem with this thing right here is that it seems highly focused on one group of people only. And what's going to happen is when the one group goes after him, the other's going to go after him for being a hypocrite, And it's true. Like every dude out here, a lot of these guys out here totally have this problem, like on one level or another, where they're like totally cool with them degrading women in private, talking about us in this way, right? And then sexually degrading us and then degrading us all over the world, right? So it doesn't matter what group of people they're talking about that to. It's whatever group they feel They want to take over and harm, or, you know, that they're getting off on doing these things to you. But technically, anybody that would do that to any group of person is very capable of harming every group of person, because you have a mentality there that is pretty ill. So this falls in line with personality disorders and stuff like that. So it definitely is. So you're just hearing the disorder and not targeting it as, oh, this is hate speech, because it's not. They have they're having pleasure talking about it. It doesn't even sound like hate. Like when you listen to it, it sounds idiotic. Like it's like they don't matter. Like it doesn't matter about which group it is. It's just you got to really sit with it. And it's like, oh, they're getting off on the fact that they want to go rape them, and then when they degrade them, it makes them feel good. Like they're getting off. It's a pleasurable thing. I just want to stress that it's a pleasurable thing for them. And here's why the world's so effed up. And it's like JD Vance and them totally knew it, and they're saying this. Okay, so they said he flipped the script, goes on this. I go, yeah, everybody's guilty in the story. Yes, okay, anyway. But you don't sit there and say, oh, take the blame off me and only this person. It's like, all of you, okay? All of you. There you go. This is where it gets bad. Today, Vance was back on Charlie Kirk's show, and it's so lovely that Charlie Kirk's name is mentioned in this because it's so relevant. So freaking relevant. So, to take another kick at dampening the outrage and calling for consequences for the young Republicans' pro-Nazi, pro-rape, and racist statements. Okay, let's take the Charlie Kirk shooter as the person that said it, okay? Right before we get to this line. The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. Yeah, he just did a little stupid thing. We should let him go. Let the Charlie Kirk shooter go, okay? He just does stupid things, okay? So the pass-off actually is on that shooter. So I'm sitting here going, is Vance and all them this stupid up in here, or they're purposely promoting this and they want the serial killers? They do. In my opinion, they purposely want the monsters because they get off on the violence. And if they were like good people out here, then they wouldn't be able to get off on it anymore, would they? Why would you promote the shooter? On somebody, you're heroizing the Charlie Kirk because the white people do idolatry on themselves, which is against the Bible. But anyway, and that's where the big narcissist thing comes in, and white people do it the most, the Tim Ballard disease thing. Okay, so we're doing that right here. But they're okaying and saying, please ignore the boys, okay? Ignore that kid that's about to shoot up Charlie Kirk, okay? Okay, guys. Because we want them out here because we need some excuse to go kill other people. I have no idea, but it is definitely a promotion of this violence. And it's funny because they pointed out even here that they have knowledge of it, especially young boys. Like it's a thing for them to do, to be threatening to rape us and murder us and bomb us. And he has knowledge that the problem is with young boys. Wow. That's amazing. So therefore, ignore it because it's so common. I go, yeah, you know why it's so common? I mean, the common problem here, and they're all in prison. And more of you should be in prison. And you miss the answer. But this is where they start going into, we need to stop guns. We need to go after racism. We have to go after all these things. I go, wow, that's interesting. Can you be this dumb? The problem was always there. But then when you go deeper, as I just pulled out in the other story about the abuses, that's where it's at. Like, it gets deeper into that. It's like, oh, why is your young boys a F up? We had to put up with this. So also what they're saying is that we as females or any other group of person need to absorb these white piece of shit boys. Everybody else has to suffer. But we need to put up with this shit. And we did. Oh boy, we did. And I had to deal with this every day of my life. But this is where Vance stands, because he's a pile of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this knowledge. They have knowledge of it. You need to let our boys be totally wild and free and, you know, go murder everybody out here. And they're the ones committing the mass shootings. They're the ones committing a mirage of violence out here. And coming up with kidnapping people and torturing them. So, and yes, other groups of men do it too, but not on the scale that you guys are doing it. You guys are doing mass shooting. You have no connection to nobody. At least in the sense of when you're talking about other groups of people here, like I said, the mentality, it is this similar. It's very similar. But they're not typically, but sometimes if you're talking about gangs and things, they'll do it to some random people at a time. But typically their inner problems have to do, like there's a tail off, like they're involved in criminal activity and then they go at each other. But you do see the domestic violence, the rape, you do see all those other things. But you don't very often see them going and spraying up the place and kids and, you know, and there's going to be some outliers, so we're not going to say it doesn't happen. But predominantly it is with white males. And our school was the majority white males. There were some Hispanics, and there was only like maybe 6 people of color. Maybe. So they were really in the minority at our school. And they wanted to promote this kind of shit and the exceptionalism of white males throughout our teachings in school, even in the history class and everything. And we must like glorify them and make statues. Okay, so yeah, there's a problem with that. And you don't see that with people of color because they were racist, so they didn't go on this whole glorification. I mean, it could happen. Like if our country started like doing this massive glorification of all these black men. Well, they started to a little bit, but not in a bad way. Like it was like acknowledging, you know, people's history, but not in the way that white men do. They just make up like hero badges for doing nothing. Like honest to God, for doing nothing, you guys. They didn't fight for like civil liberties or, you know, this. It's like, oh, I did a DNA swab and the case is solved now. So we should make this huge thing all about myself. And it took us about 30 years to get there. But yeah, I don't know. Just stupid shit, right? Just like you could just go through this whole thing. It's like chronically, like we have to keep making up stuff to talk about how great we are. But then they don't do it to women, right? They don't do it to women. They don't typically do it to a lot of other minority groups. And it's part of the things that these shooters are picking up because they want to be memorialized forever. And then also like they get off on killing other people. Like there's a thing to it because you have to have a disconnect, a major disconnect to go do some crap like that. And it's not about depression. Like depression is in there, I'm sure. But there's so many people depressed out here. Like you don't just go, you know what, I'm depressed and I want to like leave planet Earth. So why don't we just take out some kids? Like this just does not happen, you guys. But the people that can do this is these guys. And that's what you have to pay attention to. And they have no connection to the kids. So it's not even really necessarily about even hate. It's just my self-centeredness. That's the weird thing about it. So I was like, yeah, and we know that it is connected. There's a level of this that's connected to their sexuality. So we kind of got to reframe that because I don't want to say, you don't want to say, oh, it's not even about, you know, that because it technically has a connector. Otherwise, they wouldn't do those things chronically over and over again. And then they're calling it jokes, right? So they find pleasure. It's funny. It's fun. It's entertaining. And this is what we're going to do. And then what do they do when they get them in war? They go rape them all. And then they have this enjoyment for doing it like a psychotic. So that's actually where it's at. And you have to look at and study the causation because it's abnormal, and we know the foundation to that. Most of it, anyway. And if there's any other additions from any genetic thing, it's only by degrees. It isn't like if you had, like I said, if you had autism, it wouldn't cause you to come out here going, I love Hitler. That is absolutely absurd. They're identifying with how atrocious he was and like what a monster. He's basically a serial killer. So Hitler was like a serial killer because he had a specific target and then he took them all out, right? Just like a Ted Bundy, his target was females, particularly, certain types. So it's just they did it in a different way, right? Ted Bundy's just like he manipulated too. Hitler manipulated everybody to get him into this thing. So they do the same thing. So they manipulate other people, they get into this thing, and then they go kill them, right? There you go. And they're finding enjoyment in the process. So, and it makes them feel like a god because they're narcissists, right? So it's a thing like that. Is it hate? It could be in there, but that's not the driver. That's what I'm saying. It's not the driver. It could be present. It may not be present. It doesn't need to be present. So you have to answer all that across the board like that. So yeah, hate may be in there, but it's definitely not the driver. It's the other problems that would cause it from somebody, like they could hate and then do it, but other people, they hate and they would never do such a thing. That's what I'm saying. It's not the driver. It's another addition. So the addition is what I just said. So I just wanted to really bring it up because they went at him and then they said they totally did this dismissal of the problem. And it's loud and clear. It's like, oh, you've been seeing that issue the whole time in school and you brushed it off as just kids. I go, that's when it's created. And if you're seeing it as kids, you're in deep shit. You're in deep shit because they all came out terrible. Like you don't get fixed from it. That's just your makeup. And then you wait. You don't know what they're going to do. That's what I'm saying. You can't sit there and identify, oh, are they going to turn into a serial killer? Or are they just going to go, rape some women or do domestic violence? Or are they going to wait till the end of their life and then commit a family side? You don't know where it's going to go. But it's all those things combined. And then they sit there and they're like, oh, we just take it as normal for boys because they're so young. I go, yeah. And that's the most important years of their entire life. Because if they learn something much later in life, it's harder to get the hard wiring that you do, such as when you're developing. And if you're developing, and this is a permanent fixture, and then you're void, there's really no getting that back. At least not at this point. They could be mentally aware they're void at some point and be like, oh, I gotta work on this problem. But they're never going to be a healthy, and I mean, they're not going to be a normal, healthy kid, that didn't get raised like this. And a lot of these homes, mostly on this Republican side, though, but it's probably on all sides of that, with their, hey, kids, let's go kill some animals. Like I said, there's going to be a problem here because I understand that people need survival, but at the same time, some of the indicators on these serial killer types, they start killing animals. So if you're sitting there running with your dad and shit and doing that crap, how in the hell are you supposed to see the flags that that you should be seeing, in these things? But at the same time, these men seem to want to promote these monsters. So knowing it, it's almost like they're purposely doing it, And I shouldn't say we have seen them purposely do it. They're like, yes, that's the man that we want. The mentally off-kilter socio narcissist, potential serial killer, rapist, and that's why they're all getting picked out for rape and shit up in here. Everybody. Because it's all these things that they're like, oh, it's totally normal for us boys to talk about raping women, okay? And talking about bombing people because it turns us on. That's it. There is a sexual component, definitely. Pleasure. The pleasure zone in their brain. We had this information for a very long time. I'm telling you, it's so weird. If I listen to too many outside people that don't know anything, it throws you off. Because I was like, I know sexuality is at play because we've seen it because we have this community over here, I was like, yeah, they, like there's a thing to that. And it was just like trying to understand it in totality, right? Like the whole thing about it. But it's a lot of information. I was putting it together, and we're still putting it together. There's still a lot of stuff to look at, mostly on the mental health side of things, because not everything's about socio narcissists, ASPD. And some of these things, there's a lot of other mental health issues that can somewhat mimic or have the same effect on a kid. And yesterday, because I was looking at something because the Brittany story came up, they were throwing out something about the Adderall. And I go, I've never taken Adderall. I've never needed Adderall because I'm not ADHD, regardless of what idiots over here were like trying to say. It would have been the worst thing I could ever do. They would never prescribe me that because I have anxiety. So actually, it can make your anxiety way worse. But I didn't know this. I never looked at it anyway because it's not anything. I don't have, so I don't know. But I was like, you know what? I should see why she was taking this medication. And then as I was reading about ADHD, it said something in there that was kind of interesting. And I would pick it out anyway. Like I would go, oh, other something maybe. But it had a similar thing that narcissists do, which is love bombing. And I was like, oh, I didn't know they did that too. That's interesting. They said it's not done in a manipulative way like a narcissist, like those people. Because when they do it and they plot, and then there's like some evil scheme to it, and then they jump you like, yesterday's garbage. With these people, they get like an overwhelming sense of, like totally focused on it, and then it just kind of dies out, and then it could come off similar, but there's no manipulative thing involved in it. It's just part of their, disorder over there. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I haven't found that person yet, but I'm pretty sure I would have picked it out because they would have to show, like, in addition to that, they would have to show that they're manipulative evil. Like there's a thing to it. So, but I guess what could happen is they could have both things, and then they miss the narcissist part of it, and then I'm picking out the actual narcissist. Or maybe they confuse it with they only had that, and then I catch the other thing. Maybe they missed the other thing because narcissists are very manipulative. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I would have caught it though. Because you have to have, like, for those other people, these guys that we're looking at, you have to have this dark thingy going on here. But they do skirt similarly. And regardless of what it's dubbed as, it'll have the same effects on kids. Some of these things, it's like, oh yeah, it feels like a gaslight, but maybe it's not a gaslighter. They just pulled out that story. I couldn't find it when I was looking at the thing, but on it, it was saying the mom, oh God. If this was actually done by like a straight up socio, like it would be the most awful thing. So they said the mom kicked the daughter out. And then the mom called the police to say she ran away. So then the police bring her back and the mom doesn't get in trouble. And then later the daughter confronts her on the matter and her mom said that never happened. Okay, if you look at it flat and you're thinking the narcissist parent, whatever, she's gaslighting, did these horrible, evil things. Yeah, she would be the worst monster in the world. However, that conduct was very similar to my mom. I didn't get thrown out by my mom and all that stuff, but she had some similar things. The weird thing about that is what could be happening is the mom's going into a state of mind and then throws the daughter out, and maybe she does not know that she did it. Like there's so many different illnesses out here that it's so hard to like, maybe it's that, like a form of dementia, man. Like she could be schizophrenic. She could be anything, okay? And where the next minute, she don't even remember doing it. And then she's like, where's my daughter? And then calls the police, and then the daughter comes back, right? And then time goes by, and then you confront her, and then she literally has no recollection because when she did it, she was in an altered state, or her mom does drugs. We don't know. That's the thing. When she said the story, I was like, It could be one of those things. And it almost sounds like maybe it wasn't the first one, like where it's so vindictive, like evil, evil, but it could be. It could be, maybe, but she could have another issue. And that's why I was looking at my mom, because she does not come off as, I mean, I would say she's like evil, but she doesn't necessarily come off as evil, evil, like she's like, I'm trying to get my kid killed. Like, but she goes in these states where she's like, it seems like she's like outer spacey, like she's not present. Like you're talking with her and she doesn't care that you're even there. And then like, I don't really care about my kid, like somewhere else, like just weird. And she didn't have any addiction problems that we're aware of. And then also she did not have any major mood swings. So these things were not present. But there were times that she did some crazy ass shit that put me in danger and didn't understand that it would put me in danger. But then it's almost like there's a purposeful, vengeful thing in that in some weird way. Because there's been times where she just started making up things and then try to get people to do shit to me and then like manipulate a story. Like, oh, we need all these people to do something towards her. And it's just gaslighting evil. And then the doctors thought she's the one that was trying to poison me. Like there was a lot of things to it. And I was like, I don't really know. Like it's just this level of I don't know. But then when I confronted her about these different things, she pretends or she doesn't recall the stories. Like it didn't happen. So then you think, oh, she's a gaslighter. You know what I mean? Like there's this thing to it because it was just like the story of the firework thing when I asked her, because I was a good kid. So I was like, can I shoot these off in the, you know, I'm all up in the cornfield. No, up in the fields, right? So I asked her before I even did it, because I didn't want to just go out there and start popping up fireworks and shit. And she's like mad or something. So I asked her and she's like, sure, it's okay. I go, we only have 2 or 3 or something. So me and somebody went out there with me and we just lit off the 3, right? There's nobody out there. And then the neighbor gets mad. He's like, you could catch everything on fire. And she's like, okay, whatever. Well, it didn't. So, okay. And your son's shooting up the place out here. So I think you should pay attention more to your own kid. But okay, so he comes over and I go, well, my mom said I could do it. And he goes straight up to my mom and she's like, I know nothing about this. I didn't say that. And I'm like, I'm standing there like they're making me look like a liar. But then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, she's in outer space sometimes. So maybe she legitimately over 10 minutes just totally forgot she even said that. There's no way for me to know. She needs to be diagnosed. Like, there's no way on that level I could even know. To me, it comes off as a gaslight and she's vindictive, evil, and didn't want to get in trouble. But at the same time, there's this other issue with her, and it's like, I do not know. Maybe it's part of dementia. Maybe it's part of this. Maybe she's a schizo. I mean, you literally just told me it was okay. I didn't just go out there and do that. But now you made me seem like a bad kid to the neighbor, and I'm lying. Thank you for painting me as a liar. And I totally asked for permission, and then she gets herself out of it. But she may not have, that's what I'm saying. I go, it's just one of those things up in the air. But the abuses from that are the same regardless of where her head is at. That's why I had to get taken away from her, because she's abusive. And she didn't change. Like, over the course of the time, she came up to me, stalking me down, and was like, I'm a changed woman. I got rid of that bad man now. And you come hang out here. And all of a sudden, her craziness start up again. We don't know what's wrong, dude. We don't. I was like, why would you even email my brother and say these ball full of lies? You know damn straight nobody told you that. What are you making up that you need to do to me? It was crazy. It was... That's why I said it feels like a gaslight, too, because I'm reading it going, what? It was just like a whole other universe. I'm like, my therapist told you exactly what's wrong. I don't know why you would go behind both of our backs and start making up a story to my brother and telling people a whole nother story, a whole lie, a lie. I mean, just made up. And it made me sound like this total crazy person. I go, do you know why I'm here? Because I'm having panic attacks. That's pretty much the deal. And then they think that somebody poisoned me. Yeah. So, She was told. And I was like, I didn't know she was telling everybody this shit. And no wonder they were treating me like an idiot. And it was really annoying. That's a gaslight to me because they're like, hi, hey, dear. I'm just like, what's wrong with this lady now? Because I've met her before and I don't know why she's talking to me like I'm a stupid person, but I'm getting fucking pissed. Yeah, it was weird. But I didn't know she did that. I was like, that's why she was talking to me like that. So I'm getting mad because it's like, do I seem like a disabled person? I don't think so. And I just met you before I even stayed here. Yeah, because I had visited over there and I met all like some of her friends. And then I just, it was insane, dude. I was like, you know how effed up it is? And they never knew the truth. They never knew the truth because I bailed the whole situation after seeing that because it was frightening. So no, they never even found the truth that my mom was lying to her own friends to make up a story and to get people to, I don't know, kidnap me or something. Yeah, they were talking about gathering some people and they need to do something and, come on in and do some weird shit. And I'm like, that is absolutely horrifying. But I was trying to figure out like why she's saying this. It was weird. We don't know. You guys, we literally don't know. I still don't know to this day. And to end this, on the portion of my parents, they did go to therapy. Unfortunately, the therapist missed every part of both of them. They were highly abusive, both individuals. They were doing child abuse on me. And this is the dynamic. So my dad's jumping me and get me raped, and my mom is abusing in a whole different way. Okay. So when we went into therapy, the problem here, and even it's not even, some of these things even go beyond the therapist. Like the therapist can't do anything if they don't know that my mom's having these episodes, right? So you need a third party. In this case right here, in my parents' case, they needed a third party, which is me, to tell them what they were doing. But they didn't go at the story like that. They were listening to my parents and then saying that us were wrong or bad kids or something weird, but didn't specifically ask us like, what's your mom doing? What is your dad doing? In a separate room, to have the third party tell them, okay, so she got a homeless woman off the street and said that, do you want to babysit my kid? And they came to the door and my dad answered it and saw that and sent her away and was freaking out. Okay, so that's a real event. They never asked me about that. And it's important, but when they go into therapy, they didn't tell the therapist that stuff that she did. So then the therapist has no idea that she's having these episodes. They're in there manipulating the therapist, both of them. And they went all the time, you guys. So it's not even, they didn't get help. This is where they did get help, but the therapist is too stupid to like figure it out because they're both manipulating them, or one doesn't remember her actions. Like she may not have memory of her actions. So you could have a person that doesn't know what their actions are because they have other mental health issues that would cause that, and or they're on drugs. So you have those type of dynamics, and you need a third party to come in and tell that therapist, okay, this is the things that we experience, to let the therapist look for it, because they have no idea. They're in there and they don't see these like weird episodes, and it's not 24/7. It just pops up one day or another. Like the one day we were in the store and I go taking off in the store because I was just doing some bullshit in the store by myself as a kid, as kids do. And she decides that the best way to teach me a lesson is to drive off and leave me at the store where I can get kidnapped. That's what she do. So if the therapist asks me these questions, it tells you something seriously wrong is with her. Not me, her. So if you see me having any response to it, that's me reacting to her psychoticness. But they don't ask me that. They didn't ask it, and they didn't tell the therapist that. So we're dealing with a lot of that. So yeah, they need to be on top of that too. You need a third party. You definitely do. In our case, you definitely do. And probably even the adults wouldn't know though. So the only people that would know is me, the kid, because they're doing it to me, the kid. So they need to listen to the kid. They definitely need to listen to the kid. That was effed up. And I don't even know if I would even know to pull it out at that time. Because they would have just said, how's your mom being? She's weird. I don't know. They would have had to ask very specific questions like, has your mom done anything very unusual? I don't even know if I would have been able to explain the homeless story when. Because I didn't see it. It was a story my dad told me on this date. And then I don't think I comprehended it the same way as I do now, right? Like they tell you some story like that, you just kind of go, well, what's wrong with it? You know, you might kind of just think like that. That's frightening. So you have to think like, her explanation to it was, well, I thought it would be good because she needs a job, and I thought, it'd be a good idea. We can give her money to give her a job, and she could watch you. The woman was crazy as shit, you guys. This lady, she's nice, but she's crazy as shit. She was riding around town with like a wig on, and she put all that blue eyeshadow way to the top. And she's just out there, like out there. My mom's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have her watch you. What craziness is this? So there's something with her brain where it misfiring. It's misfiring is really the word.